You've been told to be kind, to be patient, to always care. But here's the truth. Caring too much is how you lose control. The people who win in this world don't react emotionally. They calculate. They observe. They move with intent, while everyone else moves with feeling. This audiobook is not about becoming cruel. It's about becoming clear. You'll learn how to think like a psychopath, calm, logical, unshakable, without losing your humanity, without losing your soul. Let's begin.
You feel too much. You react too quickly. You give every emotion permission to control you. That's why you lose focus. That's why you lose power. You don't need to stop feeling. You need to stop obeying what you feel. Let's make this clear right now. Emotions are information, not instruction. They are messages, not commands. They are signals, not orders. And the difference between people who lead and people who break is how they handle emotion in the moment. Most people collapse under emotion. They let anger speak for them. They let fear make their decisions. They let sadness define their identity. But the strongest people, the ones who move like machines, calm and calculating, they feel it all, but they don't let it lead them. They control the emotion. They own the reaction. They decide the meaning. You have that same choice right now, every moment of every day.
When something happens that triggers you, your brain reacts in milliseconds. It floods your system with chemicals, adrenaline, cortisol, dopamine. Your heart rate rises, your breath shortens, your mind narrows. And in that narrow moment, you have 1 second, just one, where power still belongs to you. That's the window where transformation happens. That's where you become different from who you used to be. And here's the rule that changes everything. The 3-second rule of power. You feel the emotion. Good. You name it. This is anger. This is fear. This is insecurity. You wait 3 seconds before doing anything. 3 seconds to stop reacting and start deciding. 3 seconds to pull back from chaos and move into clarity. 3 seconds to protect your control. That's your edge. That's your armor. That's how you become emotionally untouchable.
Let's go deeper. Your emotions are like waves. They rise, they crash, and they fade. But when you chase the wave, when you fight the wave, when you drown in it, you lose the shore completely. You've got to become the watcher, not the wave. You've got to stand tall while everything around you moves. You've got to say, I see the emotion, I feel it, but I am not it. Because that's the truth. You are not your emotions. You are the observer. You are the chooser. You are the one who decides what comes next.
Most people build their identity around emotion. I'm angry. I'm anxious. I'm depressed. No, you're not. You're feeling those things. They are passing through you. And if you stop identifying with them, they lose power. If you stop saying I am and start saying I feel, your brain starts separating identity from reaction. Say it out loud. I feel anger, but I choose calm. I feel fear, but I choose courage. I feel pain, but I choose progress. That's your new operating system. You're not emotional. You're in control. You're not cold, you're clear. You're not detached, you're disciplined.
Now, let's talk about why this matters. Every emotional reaction has a cost. The moment you lose control, you hand your power to the environment. You give your authority to someone else's behavior. They say something you don't like, you explode. They ignore you, you shrink. They insult you, you defend. You're reacting, you're following, you're being controlled. But when you stay calm, when you breathe, pause, and choose, you flip the script. You control the frame. You lead the energy. You dictate the pace of interaction. That's how real power works. Not by shouting, not by proving, but by staying still while others lose control. Here's your practical training. Every day, for 1 week, practice emotional pause. When something irritates you, a driver cuts you off, a text annoys you, someone disrespects you, use the 3-second rule. Feel it, name it, delay it, control it. Say it with me. Feel it, name it, delay it, control it. This is your mantra now. Repeat it until it becomes automatic. When your brain triggers emotion, your training kicks in. You breathe, you pause, you own it. This is emotional conditioning. This is mental weightlifting. Every pause builds discipline. Every pause strengthens control. You are rewiring your response pattern from emotional to intentional, from chaos to calm, from reaction to command. Understand this. The goal is not to suppress your feelings. That makes you numb. The goal is to process them with precision. That makes you powerful. Suppression is weakness disguised as strength. Control is awareness turned into mastery. So when something hurts, don't bury it. Observe it. Ask, what is this emotion trying to teach me? What triggered it? What can I learn before I act? That's how you turn emotion into intelligence. That's how you transform chaos into data. Every emotion carries a lesson. Fear shows you where to prepare. Anger shows you where your boundaries were crossed. Sadness shows you where you're still attached. But you only learn if you stay calm enough to listen. You have to build this mindset every single day. When you wake up, you decide, I will not be led by emotion today. I will be led by discipline. That's the mantra of emotional warriors. They don't react, they calculate, they decide. Because emotion is temporary, but decisions are permanent. And every decision you make under emotion leaves a scar. One angry word can destroy a relationship. One impulsive move can end a career. One emotional outburst can ruin your peace for days. Is that worth it? No, it never is. You have a choice, always. Feel it, name it, delay it, control it. That's the key. That's how you stay powerful when others fall apart.
And here's the hidden truth. The calmer you become, the more dangerous you are. Because calmness is clarity. Clarity is precision. Precision is power. You stop bleeding energy into chaos. You stop explaining yourself. You stop overreacting. You conserve. You control. You command. That's how you rise.
Not by force, but by focus. Because focus is what emotion tries to steal from you. Your job is to protect it at all costs. So remember, every emotional reaction is a test. Every test is a chance to prove your control. The world doesn't respect the loud. It respects the still. It respects the composed. It respects the one who doesn't break. You have to earn that stillness. Every pause is proof. Every calm breath is a declaration of mastery.
Now, take a deep breath. Feel your power returning. You're not your anger. You're not your fear. You're not your impulse. You are the observer. You are the decider. You are the controller of your state. Say it again. Feel it. Name it. Delay it. Control it. That's the foundation of your new mind. You've just taken the first step toward thinking like a psychopath, not to lose your soul, but to own it. You've learned to separate emotion from action. You've learned to create distance between stimulus and response. And in that distance, you found power. You mastered your reactions. Now it's time to master your perception.
You want to win. You want to control everything. You want every plan to go exactly how you imagined it. That's your problem. Because the tighter you grip, the faster things slip. The more you chase control, the more you lose it. You can't command the wind. You can only command your sail. That's the truth most people never learn. True control comes from releasing the need to control results. It's not about outcomes. It's about process. It's not about certainty. It's about consistency. You have a choice. You can waste your energy trying to predict, or you can use it to prepare. You can obsess over results, or you can master the process that creates them. That's the key.
Look at the best in any field. CEOs, soldiers, elite athletes. They've all learned one skill that separates winners from emotional amateurs: detachment. A Navy SEAL doesn't panic when the plan breaks. He adapts. A world-class athlete doesn't crumble when the score is close. He focuses. A CEO doesn't chase every outcome. He trusts his system. They all understand one principle. I control effort, not outcome. That's the mantra. Say it again. I control effort, not outcome. Detachment doesn't mean apathy. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop depending. You stop letting results dictate your worth. You stop letting outcomes decide your emotions. You stop giving power to things you cannot control. Because when you're attached, you're fragile. When you're detached, you're free. And freedom is strength. Freedom is clarity. Freedom is performance. Attachment creates desperation. You want it so badly that you lose logic. You grip tighter. You rush decisions. You take shortcuts. You start reacting, not reasoning. You need them to like you. You need that deal to close. You need the plan to go right. You need it. And that's why you lose it. You don't lose because you weren't capable. You lose because you were emotionally attached to the outcome. Desperation clouds judgment. Detachment sharpens it. When you're detached, you can see clearly. You can pivot faster. You can endure longer. Detachment doesn't kill passion. It refines it. It channels your energy where it matters, the process. You stop saying, I hope this works, and start saying, I'll make this work. You stop thinking, what if I fail, and start thinking, what's my next move?
That's the shift. From fear to focus, from obsession to execution. That's what real mental toughness looks like.
Let's get practical. When you face pressure, a job interview, a competition, a relationship, you must repeat this pattern. Prepare with precision. Master the controllable details. Leave no excuse. Perform with presence. Be fully here, not thinking about what happens next, not stuck on what already passed. Detach from the result. You've done your work. Now let it go. That's how professionals think. That's how soldiers stay calm under fire. That's how champions perform when the world watches. Because they know the truth. Pressure is powerless when your identity isn't tied to the result. Here's what most people do wrong. They attach their worth to the outcome. If they win, they feel valuable. If they fail, they feel worthless. That's weakness. Your worth isn't based on what happens. Your worth is based on what you control, your effort, your discipline, your process. You can't control if they accept you. You can't control if the world applauds you. You can't control the timing, the luck, the randomness of life. But you can control your consistency. You can control your focus. You can control your next move. That's the foundation of detachment. You shift your focus from external validation to internal execution. Listen closely. When you detach from the outcome, you unlock power most people never touch. You stop needing things to happen, and you start making things happen. You stop fearing loss because your identity isn't tied to winning. You stop overthinking because you trust your preparation. That's when you enter flow. That's when you perform with effortless focus. That's when you become dangerous. Because the man who doesn't fear losing can't be manipulated. The woman who doesn't depend on approval can't be controlled. That's why detachment is strength. It's emotional armor.
There's a phrase in special operations training. Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. That's detachment. You move slow enough to stay calm. You stay calm enough to stay precise. And precision wins the battle. Emotion wants to rush you. Fear wants to control you. Detachment neutralizes both. You don't need to control the storm. You just need to steer your ship with discipline. Say it again. I control effort, not outcome. Here's your training exercise. For the next week, pick one area of your life that makes you anxious. Maybe your job, your fitness goal, or your relationships. Each time you start to obsess over results, stop yourself. Ask 3 questions. What can I actually control right now? What am I wasting energy worrying about? What's the next actionable step in my process? Then do only that step, nothing more. That's detachment in motion. That's power in practice. And when your mind starts to spiral again, repeat your mantra. I control effort, not outcome. Say it until it becomes instinct. This is how you stop emotional burnout. This is how you become unshakable under pressure. You stop chasing results and start chasing discipline. Because it's not about winning today. It's about becoming the kind of person who can win any day. When you detach, your confidence doesn't come from the scoreboard. It comes from your preparation. It comes from your consistency. It comes from knowing that no matter what happens, you'll handle it. You have a choice. Keep trying to control the uncontrollable or master the one thing that's always in your power, your effort.
Here's the paradox. When you stop needing to win, you actually start winning more. When you stop forcing control, things start aligning. Because you're no longer tense, you're composed. And composure is clarity. Clarity is strength. You perform better because you're not strangled by emotion. You see the field, you see the truth, you see your next move. That's how high performers think. That's how psychopaths think. Clear, objective, detached. They feel emotion, but they don't feed it. They prepare, then they release. That's what you're training for. Detachment through discipline. So let's seal this chapter with a truth you must remember. You will never control outcomes. You will only control effort. Control the effort and the results will follow. Lose control of effort and even luck won't save you. You don't need guarantees. You need focus. You don't need control. You need consistency. That's how you stay powerful in an unpredictable world. You've learned to stop chasing emotion in Chapter 1. Now you've learned to stop chasing outcomes in Chapter 2. You're calmer. You're clearer. You're lighter. You no longer panic when things don't go your way because you understand that your way is built through process, not prediction. You're starting to think like a strategist. You're starting to think like a psychopath, calm, deliberate, detached. You've mastered your attachment to results. Now let's master your attachment to illusion. Because the next step is seeing reality for what it truly is, not what you wish it to be.
You suffer because you expect. You get disappointed because you imagine. You get angry because you assume the world should be something it isn't. But the world doesn't care what you think it should be. The world just is. That's the truth. And until you accept it, you'll always be fighting reality instead of mastering it. You can't win against truth. You can only align with it. You can't bend reality. You can only learn how to operate within it. See the world as it is, not as you want it to be. That's the mindset of clarity. That's the mindset of power. Most people live inside emotional fiction. They build illusions, how people should act, how life should feel, how success should look. Then they suffer when reality doesn't match the fantasy. They say, people shouldn't betray me. They shouldn't lie. I should already be successful. I should be happy by now. That word, should, is poison. It's emotional delusion. Every should is an argument with reality, and every argument with reality ends with your defeat. You have a choice. Keep fighting what is, or face it, own it, and rise above it. That's the key. Look at the most unshakable minds on the planet. They all have one trait in common: brutal objectivity. A soldier sees the terrain exactly as it is. No denial, no hope, no fantasy. A surgeon accepts the blood, the pain, the risk without flinching. A CEO reads the numbers, not the dreams. They live in the real world, not the emotional one. That's why they stay calm while others panic. Because when you see clearly, you don't get surprised. And when you don't get surprised, you stay in control. You must train your mind to see facts, not feelings. Your friend didn't change. They revealed who they were. Your boss didn't ruin your day. They showed you the limits of your power. The world didn't hurt you. It simply reflected back your unpreparedness. That's the truth you've got to face. You don't grow by wishing life was fair. You grow by learning how to win even when it's not. Stop expecting fairness. Start mastering reality.
There's a concept I call cold observation. It means you observe the world with zero emotional filter. You look, you record, you learn. You don't judge, you don't justify, you just see. Because the moment you label, you lose clarity.
You start reacting instead of analyzing. Cold observation is discipline. It's training your mind to say, what is true right now, not what do I want to be true. You need that clarity to survive in chaos. When emotions rise, clarity dies. And when clarity dies, control dies with it. Let's practice this. When something goes wrong, don't say, this shouldn't happen. Say, it happened. What's next? When someone lies, don't say, they betrayed me. Say, they showed me who they are. When you fail, don't say, I'm worthless. Say, I was unprepared. Time to adjust. That's not denial. That's dominance. You're turning every pain into data. You're turning every loss into a lesson. That's what cold observation does. It replaces emotion with evaluation. It replaces blame with adaptation. The weak want comfort. The strong want truth. Because truth hurts, but it also heals. It strips you bare, it humbles you, but it also strengthens you. When you see things as they are, you stop wasting energy on fantasy. You stop chasing illusions. You stop expecting people to be different. You start moving strategically. You start saying, I know who they are. I know what this is. I know what I can control. And that's when you start winning.
The world is not obligated to make sense to you. People will be inconsistent. Systems will be corrupt. Life will be unfair. But your strength isn't measured by how easy the world is. It's measured by how well you adapt to it. So when you face injustice, don't cry for fairness. Build leverage. When you face failure, don't collapse. Collect data. When you face betrayal, don't whine. Walk away and upgrade your standards. That's the discipline of reality. It's not about emotion. It's about evolution. You have a choice every time life hits you. Complain or calibrate. That's the key. Understand this. The world rewards awareness, not idealism. You think people succeed because they're good. No, they succeed because they understand how things actually work. They see the game for what it is. They study human nature. They play according to truth, not emotion. That's how psychopaths think. Cold, logical, adaptive. They don't get offended. They don't moralize. They don't waste energy hoping. They see, they plan, they act. That's how you need to start living. Here's your real-world exercise. For the next 7 days, practice objective journaling. Every night, write down one event that triggered emotion during the day. Then describe it in pure facts, no adjectives, no emotion, no should. Example. No, my coworker disrespected me again. Yes, my coworker raised their voice during the meeting.
Here's the truth. Reality doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care about your expectations. It doesn't care about your timeline. The only question that matters is, how are you going to respond? You can react emotionally and stay trapped in illusion, or you can respond intelligently and rise above it. You can keep arguing with reality, or you can start using it. You have a choice every single day. That's the key. When you accept the world as it is, something amazing happens. You stop resisting. You stop drowning in frustration. You start using everything as fuel. Disrespect becomes motivation. Failure becomes feedback. Chaos becomes training. That's when life stops feeling like a battlefield and starts feeling like a strategy board. You don't need things to be easy. You need them to be true. Because once you see truth, you can control your next move. So here's your reminder. Stop dreaming about how things should be. Start training for how things are. Stop hoping for ideal people. Start observing real ones. Stop demanding fairness. Start mastering the unfair. That's how you build power in an unpredictable world. When you drop illusion, you gain clarity. When you gain clarity, you gain control. When you gain control, you gain peace. That's the path. That's the process. That's your discipline.
You've learned to stop feeling everything. You've learned to detach from outcomes. And now, you've learned to see reality with cold precision. You're no longer reacting. You're reading. You're no longer hoping. You're adapting. That's how real mental dominance begins. But clarity is only the start. Next, you need to stop explaining yourself to the world that doesn't deserve your justification. Because silence is power, and power doesn't beg to be understood. Stop explaining yourself. Stop defending yourself. Stop wasting your breath trying to be understood. You don't owe anyone a justification for how you live, think, or act. You owe yourself peace. You owe yourself progress. Every time you explain yourself, you give someone the power to question you. Every time you defend your choices, you hand over control of your narrative. That's not communication. That's submission. You don't need their validation. You don't need their permission. You don't need their understanding. That's the key.
The world trains you to explain. It trains you to justify. It trains you to shrink every time someone raises an eyebrow. You've been taught to seek approval since childhood. Explain why you did that. Say sorry for being different. Convince them you're right. But here's the truth. The people demanding explanations rarely care about truth. They care about control. They're not listening to understand you. They're listening to measure you. They want to know if you'll bend, if you'll apologize, if you'll chase their acceptance. Don't give them that satisfaction. Strong people don't explain. They act. They move. They execute. Weak people explain. They rationalize. They talk about why they can't. Every "I just wanted to say," every "let me explain," every "you have to understand," it's a leak in your energy. You're bleeding power. Because when you explain, you put yourself on trial. And every trial needs a judge. Guess who you just appointed? The person who questioned you. Stop putting people on the throne of your decisions. They don't deserve that position. Think about the people you admire. Leaders, creators, warriors, thinkers. They don't explain. They declare. They don't say, "I hope you understand my vision." They say, "This is the vision." They don't ask, "Do you get me?" They say, "You'll see." That's authority. That's conviction. And conviction speaks louder than explanation
ever will.
Let's make this clear. Silence doesn't mean weakness. It means focus. When you stop explaining, you stop negotiating your worth. You stop engaging in meaningless debates. You stop trying to please people who secretly want to see you lose. You start conserving energy for what matters: execution. Because talk burns time. Justification burns momentum. Every time you explain, you delay action. And delay is death to progress. So next time someone demands an explanation, try this. Pause. Breathe. Then say nothing. Let silence do the talking. Let results answer for you. Silence confuses insecure people. It exposes manipulators. It protects your power. That's why the strong speak less. They don't need to prove anything. You don't have to justify your standards. If someone calls you too serious, good. That means you have direction. You don't have to justify your boundaries. If someone says you've changed, good. That means you've evolved. You don't have to justify your ambition. If someone says you're obsessed, good. That means you're committed. Stop apologizing for growing. Stop explaining your transformation to people who refuse to change. You have a right to improve in silence. You have a right to choose distance without debate. You have a right to walk away without offering an essay. That's power. Let's talk about manipulation, because that's where this matters most. Explaining yourself to manipulators is like handing them a map to your insecurities. They'll use your explanations against you. You say, "I didn't mean to sound harsh." They say, "So you admit you were wrong." You say, "I'm just busy lately." They say, "You've changed. You don't care anymore." Every word becomes ammunition. Stop giving them ammo. When someone twists your words, don't clarify. When someone misrepresents you, don't chase correction. The truth doesn't need your defense. It reveals itself through consistency. You don't have to convince anyone who's committed to misunderstanding you. That's the key.
In psychology, this is called detachment from validation. It's the ability to let others think whatever they want and not flinch. Because control begins when you stop reacting to perception. People's opinions are mirrors of their own limits. They project, they judge, they mock what they fear. You can't change that, but you can rise above it. Here's how. Observe without defending. When criticized, say less. Listen, process, decide. Don't defend. Act without announcing. Stop broadcasting every step. Move quietly. Let outcomes make noise. Stand without approval. Make decisions based on logic, not applause. That's how you build unshakable confidence. Not by talking, by doing. Every time you explain, you tell the world you're not sure. Every time you overtalk, you weaken your position. Certainty doesn't need noise. A lion doesn't explain why it hunts. It just hunts. A storm doesn't explain why it destroys. It just destroys. You don't need to explain why you're choosing yourself. Just do it. And the people meant for your life will understand without explanation. Here's a truth you must tattoo on your mind. When you stop explaining, people start respecting. Because silence is interpreted as certainty, confidence, boundaries. You stop chasing validation and you start attracting it. Why? Because humans follow certainty. They trust conviction. They respect those who move without asking permission. You become a force of nature, unpredictable, focused, free. That's what happens when your energy is no longer trapped in explanation loops.
A CEO doesn't explain every decision to every employee. A surgeon doesn't justify every cut during surgery. A general doesn't explain every command on the battlefield. They act from knowledge, not approval. They lead with clarity, not consensus. You must lead your life the same way. You're the CEO of your mind, the commander of your boundaries, the architect of your destiny. Lead, decide, move, and let results speak your language. So here's your exercise. For 1 week, practice zero explanation mode. When you feel the urge to justify, pause. When someone demands reasons, breathe. When you feel misunderstood, smile, stay silent, move on. Let your life become your statement. Let your silence become your defense. Let your results become your revenge. Because the more silent you become, the more they'll notice. And the less you explain, the more you'll command. You have to remember this. Explaining is emotional. Execution is rational. The first burns energy. The second builds empire. You can't do both. Choose one. Stop explaining yourself. Start expressing yourself through discipline, action, and results. When they question you, let them. When they doubt you, let them. When they misjudge you, let them. You're not here to convince. You're here to conquer. You don't need their validation. You need your vision. That's the key.
You've learned to detach from results. You've learned to see truth clearly. Now you've learned to speak power through silence. That's how control grows, quietly, deliberately, internally. Because the one who doesn't explain is the one who can't be manipulated. You've reclaimed your energy. You've reclaimed your authority. Next, it's time to reclaim your time. Because control means nothing if you keep giving your hours away to chaos, noise, and distraction. Time. It's the only thing you can't replace. It's the only currency that never refunds. And yet, most people spend it like it's endless. You guard your phone with a password. You guard your money with a bank. You guard your reputation with fear. But you hand out your time to anyone for anything. That's the real reason most people stay weak. They don't lose power overnight. They lose it minute by minute. 5 minutes to pointless conversation. 10 minutes to scrolling. An hour to explaining. A lifetime to distraction. You don't run out of time because the day is short. You run out of time because you keep giving it to things that don't deserve it. That's the truth. And the truth hurts, because time discipline reveals who you really are. You say you want success, but success demands focus. You say you want peace, but peace demands space. You say you want mastery, but mastery demands hours, and you keep trading them away for comfort. You can't have both. You can't be distracted and disciplined at the same time. You can't be available to everyone and available to your purpose. You have to choose. That's the key. Here's the first rule. Treat time like a weapon. Because in a world of noise, attention is warfare. Every app, Every ad, every algorithm is designed to steal your time, to pull you into endless loops of consumption and comparison. But a weapon isn't meant to be shared. It's meant to be wielded. You must aim your time, direct it, guard it with intention. When you pick up your phone, ask yourself, am I creating or consuming? When you say yes to an invitation, ask, does this move me forward or distract me? When someone demands your energy, ask, is this a priority or an interruption? You control your time, or your time controls you. Let's be real. You're not too busy. You're just not disciplined with your hours. You don't need more time. You need fewer leaks. The leaks are everywhere. People who waste your time because they have no purpose, tasks that look productive but keep you average, habits that drain you before the day even begins. Every small leak costs you more than you think. 10 minutes of wasted time a day equals 60 wasted hours a year. That's a full work week of potential. Gone. You can't afford that anymore. Because when you start guarding your time, you stop living like a victim of the clock. You start living like a commander of your hours. Here's what high performers understand. Time doesn't just pass. It builds momentum. What you do consistently compounds. 10 minutes of discipline every day builds skill. 10 minutes of distraction every day builds regret. Your future self is built in the micro decisions you make with your minutes, so guard them. Don't just schedule your time, defend it. Put boundaries on your day like armor. If someone interrupts your focus, train yourself to say one word: no. No is not rude. No is respect for your mission, your mind, and your limited hours. You don't need to apologize for protecting your time. You need to apologize for wasting it.
Elite athletes train by the clock. Soldiers operate by the second. Surgeons plan every movement by minute. They understand something average people don't. Time is discipline in motion. If you want to rise, your hours must be precise. Your calendar must reflect your values. Your schedule must reveal your priorities. If I look at your time, I can tell what you worship. You can say you value growth, but if your time goes to gossip, you worship comfort. You can say you want wealth, but if your hours go to entertainment, you worship distraction. The truth is always in your timeline. Here's how you start guarding time like a weapon. Step 1, audit. Track every hour for 1 week. Write it down. You'll be shocked at how much time leaks through laziness, reaction, and noise. Awareness creates accountability. Step 2, cut. Remove the unnecessary, ruthlessly. Every hour you reclaim becomes ammunition for your future. Step 3, build rituals. Morning is your launch pad. Evening is your recalibration. Set times for focus, for rest, for creation, and protect them like sacred territory. Step 4, limit access. Not everyone deserves your availability. The most disciplined people in the world are the least accessible. Be polite, not available. Be kind, not constantly reachable. Understand this. Guarding your time doesn't mean isolating yourself. It means elevating your standard. You're not rejecting people. You're rejecting distraction. You're not avoiding life. You're investing in legacy.
When you start doing this, people will call you cold. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you're selfish. Let them talk. Let them guess. Let them project. Because the truth is, you have changed. You've become deliberate. You've become focused. You've become dangerous to mediocrity. That's the evolution.
Guarding your time is guarding your identity. Because time equals energy. Energy equals focus. Focus equals reality. Whatever you give time to becomes who you are. So stop saying, I don't have time. Start saying it's not a priority. Because that's what you really mean. And when you reframe time as choice, you take back power. You stop being a slave to the clock and become the designer of your day. Let's talk about energy parasites. They're not just people, they're patterns. They disguise themselves as harmless habits. Checking your phone first thing in the morning, scrolling before sleep, saying yes to everything, allowing emotional drama to live rent-free in your mind. These are thefts, silent ones. The disciplined don't just manage time. They filter inputs. They curate what enters their space, their ears, their eyes, their thoughts. Because every distraction you allow steals more than time. It steals clarity. You can't be sharp if your mind is crowded. You can't be strategic if your attention is scattered. So guard your time, and you automatically guard your peace. Remember this mantra: I control effort, not outcome. I control focus, not noise. I control time, not opinion. Repeat it until it becomes instinct. Because focus is your invisible edge. Discipline is your silent armor. And time is your deadliest weapon. Use it with precision. Use it with purpose. Use it like your life depends on it, because it does. When you start guarding time, you begin to feel something new. Stillness. Not emptiness, but power. Because silence creates space for strategy. Focus creates momentum. And time control creates freedom. You can't buy more time, but you can become more efficient with it. That's mastery.
You've learned to stop explaining. Now you've learned to stop wasting. This is what makes your mind dangerous. Focus without distraction. Calm without chaos. Discipline without debate. You've taken control of your time, your attention, your life. But control without understanding is fragile. Next, we go deeper into the psychology of awareness and the predator mindset that sees patterns others miss. You want power? Learn people. Not money, not luck, not talk. People. Because life isn't a game of chance. It's a game of patterns, and those who read patterns control outcomes. Predators see what others miss. They don't guess, they observe. They don't react, they read. That's the key. Most people walk through life blind. They see faces, not motives. They hear words, not intentions. They react to tone, not truth. That's why they get manipulated, lied to, blindsided. They take people at face value instead of studying the signals beneath the surface. But the strong don't do that. The disciplined don't do that. The dangerous don't do that. They study people quietly, patiently, relentlessly. You need to start seeing people like data. Every word, every pause, every contradiction, it tells you something. Predators read patterns of behavior, not isolated actions. They connect the dots that others ignore. You can't read people if you're too emotional. You can't see motives if you're desperate to be liked. You can't observe clearly if you're reacting constantly. That's why emotional control comes first, because calm observation is impossible without it. When you study people like a predator, you do three things. You watch without reacting. You listen without judging. You remember without emotion. You don't take what they say personally. You take it strategically. You file it. You categorize it. You analyze it later. That's the difference between a player and prey. Here's the truth. People always reveal themselves. They reveal themselves in how they handle stress. They reveal themselves in what they laugh at. They reveal themselves in how they treat the powerless. They reveal themselves when they think you're not watching. And you should always be watching. Because attention is your early warning system. The more you see, the less you'll be surprised. Stop assuming people are good. Stop assuming people are evil. Just watch what they do. A liar will tell on himself without realizing it. A manipulator will repeat their tactics with different targets. A weak person will always choose comfort over truth. Your job isn't to judge them. Your job is to read them. Observation is power. Interpretation is control.
Here's how you start developing this skill. Step 1. Watch patterns, not moments. One lie doesn't make a liar. One promise doesn't make a loyal person. But patterns, they never lie. Write this down. People are consistent in their inconsistency. Once you spot a pattern, trust it. Step 2. Listen to contradictions. What people say and what they do rarely align. If someone says they value honesty but gossips constantly, they've told you the truth through their behavior. Don't argue, don't confront. Just note it and adjust accordingly. Step 3. Control your energy. Never let them know how much you've noticed. The more they think you're oblivious, the more they'll expose themselves. That's how a predator hunts, with patience, not noise. In a world where everyone is loud, your silence is intelligence. While others are talking, you're studying. While others are reacting, you're recording. While others are distracted, you're decoding. That's how you stay ahead. Because information is the foundation of control, and control belongs to those who understand human nature. Real-world example. Think of an elite negotiator. They don't just listen to the words, they read posture, tone, hesitation, eye movement. They can tell when someone's lying before the sentence is finished. They can feel uncertainty through silence. That's not magic, that's training. You can train the same way if you stop filling silence with reaction. Because silence exposes people. When you stop talking, others rush to fill the space, and in that rush, they reveal themselves. That's why predators don't fear silence, they weaponize it. Observation gives you leverage. You'll know who's loyal and who's using you. You'll know who's strong and who only looks strong. You'll know when to trust and when to walk away. And when you know people, you stop fearing them. You stop being manipulated by emotion. You stop being shocked by betrayal. You stop being naive about loyalty. You see clearly. You plan strategically. You move precisely. Remember, people show you who they are in 3 places: when they're angry, when they're tired, and when they're desperate. That's when the mask slips. So don't study people at their best. Study them at their breaking point. That's where the truth lives. When someone's angry, they'll reveal what they've been hiding. When someone's tired, they'll drop their performance. When someone's desperate, they'll betray their values. Study those moments. That's where the data is. But here's the discipline. Never use what you learn for cruelty. Use it for clarity. Thinking like a predator isn't about destruction. It's about detection. It's not about manipulation. It's about mastery of awareness. You're not here to play games. You're here to protect your peace, your energy, your strategy. The world thrives on chaos, noise, emotion, panic. And that's why most people never see clearly, because they let feelings decide what logic should control. But not you, not anymore. You will train your mind to stay calm while the world burns. You will learn to see through confusion instead of drowning in it. You will become the one who keeps their head when everyone else is losing theirs. That's real power. Understand this. Emotions blur judgment. Logic builds direction. When you're emotional, you react. When you're logical, you respond. When you're emotional, you chase. When you're logical, you choose. When you're emotional, you lose control. When you're logical, you create control. That's why emotional control isn't enough. You must master mental clarity. Chaos isn't your enemy. It's your training ground. Because anyone can think clearly when things are calm. But the true test of discipline is how you think when the pressure hits, when the plan fails, when the people leave, when the pain arrives. That's when logic either collapses or conquers. You see, emotion is natural, but reaction is optional. You can feel something without becoming it. You can experience pain without losing precision. You can acknowledge fear without obeying it. That's what mental toughness really is. Feeling deeply, but thinking sharply. You don't suppress emotions. You separate them from decision-making. You let logic drive the car while emotion sits quietly in the passenger seat. Here's how you do that. Step 1, slow down the moment. When chaos strikes, your mind will speed up. You'll want to fix everything fast, reply instantly, act immediately. Don't. Pause, breathe, observe. Because when you slow the moment, you expand your perception. You start noticing options you couldn't see while panicking. Pause is power. It turns instinct into intelligence. Step 2, detach from the outcome. You think better when you stop obsessing over what you want to happen. Emotion is always tied to outcome. Logic is tied to process. So when something breaks, your plan, your trust, your expectations, you detach. You stop saying, "Why me?" You start saying, "What now?" That's the language of strategy. Emotion keeps you in the past. Logic moves you into action. Step 3, think in consequences, not feelings. Every strong mind calculates before it reacts. Ask yourself, if I say this, what happens next? If I quit now, where does it lead? If I act from emotion, what's the cost? This habit turns chaos into a chessboard. You stop playing checkers with your life. Every decision becomes a move with intention, not impulse. Let me give you truth. Weak people drown in emotion because it makes them feel alive. Strong people manage emotion because it makes them stay alive. The weak chase intensity. The strong choose clarity. Intensity fades. Clarity builds empires. That's why you'll never meet a truly powerful person who reacts loudly. They speak calmly. They act precisely. They move only when it matters. They've learned this sacred art of controlled detachment. Logic doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care intelligently. You still feel, you still love, you still hurt, but you don't let those feelings hijack your choices. You don't throw away a decade of growth because of a single bad day. You don't burn a bridge just to prove a point. You don't give energy to battles that don't advance your strategy. Because emotion says react now. Logic says think long. Repeat this mantra when the pressure hits. I will not let temporary emotion destroy permanent progress. Say it again. That's your anchor. Because one impulsive decision can cost you years of peace. One outburst can destroy the reputation you built in silence. One reaction can hand power to the person trying to trigger you. Don't give them that power. Keep it. Guard it. Wield it with precision. In chaos, 90% of people lose their edge because they start defending ego instead of pursuing purpose. They fight to be right instead of being effective. They react to be seen instead of being strategic.
But ego is the first casualty of logic. Kill it before it kills your clarity. You don't need to win arguments. You need to win peace. You don't need to prove yourself. You need to improve yourself. That's how logical people move. Quietly, deliberately, relentlessly. When chaos hits, remember this equation. Emotion plus speed equals mistake. Logic plus patience equals mastery. The more emotional you are, the faster you'll act, and the faster you'll regret. The more logical you are, the slower you'll think and the sharper you'll strike. That's how warriors operate. They don't react to noise. They respond to timing. The quiet mind always wins the loud war. Understand, chaos is not meant to break you. It's meant to measure you. It's the arena where your discipline is tested. And if you stay logical when the pressure rises, you've already won. Because the goal isn't to avoid storms. The goal is to stay calm in a storm until it passes. That's real strength. So the next time everything feels like it's collapsing, don't panic. Don't reach for control through force. Control starts in the mind. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, say silently, "This is my test. I will think, not react." And then move. Not emotionally, not fearfully, but strategically. One calm step at a time. Because when you master logic, you master movement. And when you master movement, chaos becomes predictable. You stop living on reaction. You start living on rhythm. That's when you transform from a reactor to an architect, from a pawn of emotion to a player of purpose. Remember this truth. The storm only controls those who try to fight it. The calm walk through it, untouched. Let the world panic. Let the noise rise. You stay still, you stay sharp, you stay focused. Because clarity is a weapon, and logic is the hand that wields it. That's how you cut through chaos, with calm eyes, cold focus, and quiet confidence. That's what separates the emotional from the exceptional.
Your life is built on what you do daily, not what you think, not what you say, what you do. Discipline is not a feeling, it's a schedule. It's not about motivation, it's about momentum. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your routines. That's the truth most people ignore. They wait for energy, they wait for inspiration, they wait for the right moment. But the right moment doesn't come. The right system does. If your days are random, your results will be random. If your structure is weak, your future will be weak. That's why we build routines, not to limit life, but to control it. Not to remove freedom, but to earn it. Freedom is not doing whatever you want. Freedom is doing what matters, every day without fail. That's the key. Let's make it clear. Routines are not punishment. Routines are protection. They protect your focus from chaos. They protect your emotions from distraction. They protect your mind from weakness. A strong routine is a shield. It guards your energy from being stolen by the meaningless. Without it, every small decision drains you. What time to wake up, what to eat, when to work, when to rest. Those aren't choices, they're traps. Each decision burns mental energy you need for higher things. So you build a routine to remove decisions, to automate strength. When your habits become automatic, your growth becomes unstoppable. Because the most powerful people don't rely on mood, they rely on systems. The soldier doesn't ask if he feels like training. The writer doesn't ask if she feels like writing.
The athlete doesn't ask if he feels ready to perform. They do it anyway, every day. You have a choice. You can live by your feelings or you can live by your framework. That's the difference between amateurs and professionals. Here's the truth. You will never feel ready. You will never feel motivated every day. Stop waiting for the spark. Build the structure that creates it. Your emotions can't be trusted, but your discipline can. That's the real secret of consistency. You don't rely on desire, you rely on design. You design your day around your priorities, not your moods. So let's break it down. Here's how you build an unbreakable routine. Step 1. Anchor your mornings. The first hour decides the next 23. If you win the morning, you win the day. That's not cliché, it's science. Your brain is most programmable right after waking, so what you do in that window defines your mental rhythm. Don't start your day with noise, start it with order. No phone, no chaos, just clarity. Breathe, stretch, read, write, reflect. Do something that anchors you, not something that scatters you. Because the way you start decides how strong you stay. Step 2. Lock in your priorities. You don't have time for everything, but you always have time for what matters most. So stop multitasking, stop reacting, stop chasing. Pick your top 3 priorities for the day, no more. Then structure your time around them like your life depends on it, because it does. When everything feels urgent, nothing truly important gets done. Routine brings clarity. It reminds you what actually deserves your energy.
Most people quit because they get bored. They confuse excitement with progress. But progress lives in repetition. The same reps, the same words, the same hours. Repetition is not failure, it's mastery in motion. Every great pianist repeats the same scales. Every fighter repeats the same strikes. Every disciplined mind repeats the same patterns. Repetition is how you build rhythm, and rhythm is how you build peace. So stop chasing variety, start chasing excellence. That's the key. Your routine is your identity in motion. Every day you follow it, you're proving to yourself that your word means something. Every skipped day is a message to your subconscious. I can't be trusted. Every disciplined day says the opposite. I do what I say. And that message, repeated daily, builds a new reality. You don't need to shout about your goals. You need to repeat your routines until they shout for you. That's the quiet confidence of a disciplined mind. But let's be honest, routine gets lonely. Because most people won't understand your focus. They'll say you're obsessed. They'll say you're rigid. They'll say you've changed. They're right. You have changed. Because when you choose discipline, you outgrow disorder. When you choose order, you outgrow comfort. You're not supposed to fit in with the distracted. You're supposed to build something the distracted will envy. That's why your routine must be sacred, protected, untouchable. Now let's talk about when life disrupts your plan. Because it will. That's inevitable. You will get sick, people will cancel, things will fall apart. That's fine, because the goal is not perfection, it's consistency. Even when chaos hits, do something small that keeps your structure alive. If you can't run 5 miles, walk 1. If you can't write a chapter, write a paragraph. If you can't meditate for 30 minutes, breathe for 3. Small acts keep the system alive. They remind your brain, we don't quit, we adapt. That's how you stay unbreakable. You're not building a routine to impress anyone. You're building it to stabilize your mind. Because the moment you create consistency, you kill confusion. You stop asking, what should I do next? You already know. That's freedom. Freedom is not the absence of rules, it's the mastery of them. Once your routine runs your life, your emotions stop doing it for you. That's when you start to feel in control. Repeat this mantra. My routine is my power. Say it again. Let it sink in. Your routine is your fortress. It's your proof of discipline. It's the foundation of peace. When the world shakes, your routine stays still. When emotions rise, your structure remains. When motivation fades, your system carries you. That's why you build it. That's why you never break it. So here's your challenge. Pick a time to wake up and keep it. Pick a time to work and guard it. Pick a system for growth and live it. Because discipline doesn't demand perfection, it demands loyalty. Show up for yourself the same way every day, even when it's boring, even when no one's watching, even when you don't feel like it. That's the line between average and exceptional. That's the edge most never find. You build a routine until it builds you back. You repeat your process until your process becomes personality. That's how you turn ordinary days into extraordinary strength. Because your life doesn't change in one grand moment. It changes in 1,000 small ones repeated with precision. That's how you become unbreakable. You've learned to build control. Now it's time to protect it. Because power doesn't last if you keep giving it away.
Most people quit because they get bored. They confuse excitement with progress. But progress lives in repetition. The same reps, the same words, the same hours. Repetition is not failure, it's mastery in motion. Every great pianist repeats the same scales. Every fighter repeats the same strikes. Every disciplined mind repeats the same patterns. Repetition is how you build rhythm, and rhythm is how you build peace. So stop chasing variety, start chasing excellence. That's the key. Your routine is your identity in motion. Every day you follow it, you're proving to yourself that your word means something. Every skipped day is a message to your subconscious. I can't be trusted. Every disciplined day says the opposite. I do what I say. And that message, repeated daily, builds a new reality. You don't need to shout about your goals. You need to repeat your routines until they shout for you. That's the quiet confidence of a disciplined mind. But let's be honest, routine gets lonely. Because most people won't understand your focus. They'll say you're obsessed. They'll say you're rigid. They'll say you've changed. They're right. You have changed. Because when you choose discipline, you outgrow disorder. When you choose order, you outgrow comfort. You're not supposed to fit in with the distracted. You're supposed to build something the distracted will envy. That's why your routine must be sacred, protected, untouchable. Now let's talk about when life disrupts your plan. Because it will. That's inevitable. You will get sick. People will cancel. Things will fall apart. That's fine. Because the goal is not perfection, it's consistency. Even when chaos hits, do something small that keeps your structure alive. If you can't run 5 miles, walk 1. If you can't write a chapter, write a paragraph. If you can't meditate for 30 minutes, breathe for 3. Small acts keep the system alive. They remind your brain, we don't quit, we adapt. That's how you stay unbreakable. You're not building a routine to impress anyone. You're building it to stabilize your mind. Because the moment you create consistency, you kill confusion. You stop asking, what should I do next? You already know. That's freedom. Freedom is not the absence of rules, it's the mastery of them. Once your routine runs your life, your emotions stop doing it for you. That's when you start to feel in control. Repeat this mantra. My routine is my power. Say it again. Let it sink in. Your routine is your fortress. It's your proof of discipline. It's the foundation of peace. When the world shakes, your routine stays still. When emotions rise, your structure remains. When motivation fades, your system carries you. That's why you build it. That's why you never break it. So here's your challenge. Pick a time to wake up and keep it. Pick a time to work and guard it. Pick a system for growth and live it. Because discipline doesn't demand perfection, it demands loyalty. Show up for yourself the same way every day, even when it's boring, even when no one's watching, even when you don't feel like it. That's the line between average and exceptional. That's the edge most never find. You build a routine until it builds you back. You repeat your process until your process becomes personality. That's how you turn ordinary days into extraordinary strength. Because your life doesn't change in one grand moment. It changes in 1,000 small ones repeated with precision. That's how you become unbreakable. You've learned to build control. Now it's time to protect it. Because power doesn't last if you keep giving it away.
Energy is your most valuable currency. Not money, not time, energy. Because without energy, your time means nothing. Without energy, your mind can't focus. Without energy, your goals don't move. And yet, most people spend it carelessly. They give it to noise. They give it to people who drain them. They give it to distractions that give nothing back. They protect their phones with passwords, their houses with locks, their money with banks, but their energy? They leave it unguarded. That's why they feel empty. That's why they feel tired without doing anything. You have a choice. You can keep letting the world drain you, or you can start treating your energy like gold. Here's the truth. Everything costs energy. Every conversation, every argument, every worry, every scroll. You're paying in focus. You're paying in peace. You're paying in potential. And the world knows it. That's why it keeps demanding your attention, because attention is energy. You think you're just looking. You're actually giving. That's why you must become ruthless about where your energy goes. Ask yourself right now, who drains me? What drains me? And why do I keep letting it? Because you can't become mentally tough if you keep feeding mental leaks. You can't master discipline while you let distractions decide how you feel. You can't build power while you hand it away for free. Every scroll is a withdrawal. Every argument is a tax. Every reaction is a debt. And soon, you wake up bankrupt, emotionally and mentally. That's why this chapter matters. Because protecting your energy is how you protect your power. Let's get practical. Here's how you guard your energy like gold. Step 1. Audit your circle. Look at the people around you. Are they charging you or draining you? It's that simple. Strong people don't tolerate energy thieves. They don't let negativity sit in their presence. They don't explain their peace to people committed to chaos. You don't owe anyone constant access to you. Not friends, not family, not colleagues. You decide who earns your energy and who doesn't. If someone constantly leaves you anxious, exhausted, or small, they're too expensive. Cut the cost. Walk away. Because protecting your energy isn't selfish. It's strategic. You can't save anyone else if you're constantly drained. That's the key.
Step 2. Control your inputs. Your energy is shaped by what you consume. Junk in, junk out. It's not just food, it's information. The news you watch, the videos you scroll, the conversations you allow. Every input either feeds your focus or fractures it. You can't fill your mind with negativity and expect peace. You can't feed on chaos and expect clarity. You can't drown in distraction and expect discipline. You have to curate your mental diet the same way you'd protect your body. Feed it clean information. Feed it truth. Feed it silence. Because silence, too, is fuel. Step 3. Stop explaining your peace. When you start protecting your energy, people will call you cold. When you stop responding to every message, they'll call you arrogant. When you stop attending every event, they'll call you distant. That's fine. Let them. You're not being rude, you're being responsible. You don't need their permission to rest. You don't need their approval to recharge. You don't need to prove your priorities. You're choosing peace over popularity.
focus over validation, discipline over drama. That's the mark of someone who finally understands value. Here's a law you must never forget. Every distraction has a purpose, and it's not yours. Social media wants your energy. The news wants your fear. Toxic people want your reaction. Because your reaction feeds them. Don't feed them. The less you react, the more powerful you become. The less you explain, the more peaceful you remain. You don't win by fighting for your energy. You win by not giving it away. Think of your energy like a bank account. Every morning, you wake up with a limited balance. If you waste it on anger, gossip, and overthinking, you'll go broke before noon. So, spend wisely. Spend it on creation. Spend it on growth. Spend it on discipline. Spend it on silence. Because silence pays interest, distraction doesn't. Your phone is another thief. It steals your attention one notification at a time. Every beep, every buzz, every scroll is a microcut to your focus. If you don't control it, it controls you. So set boundaries. No phone in the first hour of your morning. No meaningless scrolling before bed. Turn off the alerts that don't serve your mission. That's not extreme, that's intelligent. Because peace requires pruning. You can't grow focus in the soil of distraction. Now let's talk about mental clutter, the invisible drain. Overthinking, regret, worry, rumination. All of it burns energy you could be using for action. You don't need to solve every thought. You need to contain it. When the mind races, say to yourself, not now, not helpful, not mine. That's your command phrase. You take authority over your mental space. You refuse to host thoughts that paid no rent. You have a choice, always. You can feed anxiety or you can feed focus. And here's the paradox. The more energy you save, the more you attract. When you stop chasing everything, the right things start finding you. Because your energy becomes magnetic when it's stable. People feel it. Opportunities feel it. Even chaos respects it. Why? Because focus radiates power. You don't need to shout to be strong. You just need to preserve what others waste. That's how calm becomes intimidating. That's how silence becomes dominant. Your mind is the battlefield. Everything you want, peace, power, and purpose, lives or dies inside your head. If your mind is weak, you lose before you even start. If your mind is strong, you can walk through chaos and remain untouched. That's the truth most people never understand. Control the mind, and the world obeys. Lose the mind, and the world destroys you. Let's get one thing straight. Nobody's coming to protect you. Nobody's going to guard your focus, your discipline, or your mental energy. That's your job. You have to become your own fortress. A fortress doesn't ask permission. It doesn't need validation. It simply stands, solid, silent, unbreakable. That's the mindset you need to build, stone by stone, boundary by boundary, habit by habit. You are what you allow. Every thought, every conversation, every piece of noise you let into your mind is either building your fortress or breaking it down. The people you follow, the content you consume, the opinions you entertain, they all enter the walls of your mental kingdom. So the question is, what are you letting in? A fortress has gates for a reason. You decide what passes through. That means saying no. Often. No to gossip. No to chaos. No to negativity disguised as realism. Because realism without faith is just surrender. And surrender is how average minds die slowly. Your fortress starts with mental filtering. Every day you're exposed to fear, anger, distraction, and comparison. These are mental viruses. They infect your focus, distort your emotions, and drain your strength. A weak person entertains every thought that shows up. A strong person filters. You can't control what appears, but you can control what stays. That's the key. When a destructive thought enters your mind, pause. Don't argue with it. Don't believe it. Simply recognize it. That thought doesn't serve my mission. Then release it. Every time you do that, your fortress walls grow higher. Every time you let the noise in, the walls crack. It's that simple. Discipline is the mortar that holds your mental fortress together. Without discipline, your mind becomes a playground for distractions. You scroll, you react, you drift, and you wonder why you feel lost. The disciplined mind, however, is narrow and focused. It has a mission, and everything else becomes background noise. Remember this. Focus is not found, it's protected. Protect it like your life depends on it, because it does. The average person loses themselves in every emotional storm. They see bad news and spiral. They face rejection and collapse. They hear criticism and crumble. But the strong, they've built walls, not walls to isolate themselves, but walls to preserve clarity. You can't build mental toughness without boundaries. That's the truth. Weak minds want to please everyone. Strong minds choose peace over approval. You don't need to be liked. You need to be clear. You don't need to be loud. You need to be disciplined. Every no you give to the world becomes a louder yes to your purpose. There's a reason monks live in silence. There's a reason warriors meditate before battle. It's not weakness, it's strategy. Silence is how you reinforce the fortress. Stillness is how you sharpen the sword. The world wants your reaction. Your fortress demands restraint. Let's talk about the internal architecture of your fortress, your routines, your rituals, your daily disciplines. This is where most people fail. They build walls one day, then knock them down the next. They start the morning strong, then drown in noise by noon. Consistency is everything. You don't rise to the level of your motivation. You fall to the level of your habits. Wake up with structure. Move your body. Read something that strengthens your philosophy. Journal what you're building. Guard your first and last hours of the day like sacred time, because they are. Your mind is most vulnerable when it wakes and when it rests. Protect those moments with intention, and you'll fortify your entire day. And don't mistake emotional numbness for strength. A fortress doesn't block emotion, it channels it. You're not building a prison, you're building power. Anger, sadness, doubt, they're part of being human,
but they must serve you, not rule you. That's emotional alchemy. You take raw feeling and refine it into discipline, focus, and drive. That's how you win. You have to remember, your mind is a weapon, but an untrained weapon can backfire. Most people are armed, but aimless. They shoot at everything, react to everything, drain themselves with everything. A trained mind, however, is precise. It knows when to engage. It knows when to retreat. It knows when to say nothing. That's mastery. You build your fortress in the moments nobody sees. When you choose self-control instead of reaction. When you choose learning over scrolling. When you choose solitude over noise. Those invisible choices are the bricks. Nobody will clap for them. Nobody will notice. But you will feel the difference. You'll feel stronger, calmer, untouchable. That's what this whole journey has been about. Control. Control over emotion, control over reaction, control over focus. Every chapter led you here, to the construction of an inner world that nothing can invade. Because when your mind becomes a fortress, life becomes simpler. The noise fades. The opinions shrink. The power returns. And if you ever forget how strong you are, remember this. The walls are already inside you. You don't build the fortress from scratch. You uncover it. Every act of discipline reveals another layer of your strength. Every quiet victory proves the truth. You've always been capable of control. You just had to stop giving it away. Now it's time to seal the gate. No more open access to your peace. No more renting out mental space to opinions, failures, or fears that don't deserve it. The key is yours. The gate is closed. The fortress stands. You've mastered emotion. You've detached from outcome. You've built the fortress. But remember, discipline doesn't end. You're not finished. You're fortified. The mission continues. Because power isn't a destination. It's a defense you maintain every day. You've learned how to think like a psychopath without losing your soul. Now go live like a fortress, calm, controlled, and completely unstoppable.